So we're here with Melissa and Laine from Missoula. Welcome to Valemount, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Super excited to be here.
So tell us, what is the play this year?
We're putting on a production of Aladdin.
Aladdin.
Yeah, which is super fun.
Okay, give us a little, everybody knows the story of Aladdin, but give us the little Missoula thumbnail of it.
Well, basically, we follow the story of Aladdin. Pretty standard. He finds the lamp, he meets the genie, and chaos ensues as he tries to get a date to the prom with the princess.
We do have a few friends that are not in the Disney version. We have some very lost penguins. We have some crazy wonders of the Cave of Wonders, or like the not so great wonders of the world that have these hilarious punny jokes.
We have Sinbad the Sailor and his sailors make an appearance.
We're also missing a few characters. The kids are always like a little bit heartbroken that we don't have Abu the monkey and there's no Raja the tiger, and they're like, what do you mean the princess isn't Jasmine? But it's the Missoula version. We have Dory instead. She's better, whatever. Sorry, Disney. If you say that.
Okay, so how long have you been on this tour?
This tour specifically, we're both at the end of a year-long contract almost, but this specific season has been almost 20 weeks. We started January 3rd was our first drive out of Missoula together.
Yeah, right now we'd probably be about like 18 weeks out because we only have 2 weeks left. So,
yeah,
quite a while, yeah.
Okay. So how are you enjoying Aladdin?
I love Aladdin. I think it's so much fun. The kids really enjoy it, and it's just a really goofy show. There's a lot of jokes that the adults get that the kids don't understand. I'm like, trust me, it's funny, and it is.
I think that that's one of my favorite things about Aladdin is I think that a lot of the characters, although this is a children's theater production, are written with depth or written to be really funny in a way that like sometimes the kids don't get it, but when they do, it's like such a great week to get to work with those kids who really understand the depth of their role.
And they understand why they're funny. And you don't have to say, just trust me. They actually get it and they get to enjoy it.
That, and I think the penguins are just the cutest little kids ever. Just those onesies that I could just melt just looking at those onesies. They're so cute.
They're cute penguins.
So who's directing this week?
I'm going to be directing this week.
Okay. And obviously you're Aladdin, I would take it?
No, I'm going to be playing the great and powerful genie of the lamp. Actually, one of 4 genies. 3 children are cast as like team genie is what we call them.
Missoula really tries not to give the title role to the touring actors. That'd be so unfair. If you got to the town and you're like, we're doing Red Riding Hood, and I'm playing Red Riding Hood. Like, how much would that stink? So
yeah. So we're in a role that's big enough to be able to help the other characters if something goes awry, and big enough to give them a good example of good acting, but not enough that we're stealing the show from the kids because it's all about the kids.
And enough so that we can still keep them under control backstage.
Yep.
Sort of like herding cats, right?
Pretty much.
Absolutely.
At times, yes. But I mean, the kids this week, it's not. They're great.
They're
good kids.
We're just talking to our office, and we've had a couple of challenging weeks right before this, and this is like being on a vacation, being up in the Rockies, staying in a cabin, and getting to work with such wonderful kids. It's been great.
So what's your favorite moment, each of you, in Aladdin?
Ooh.
I just really like the line, oh, you wizards of illusion. I just love that line. It's not even really a moment, it's just the line that I like.
Okay, so we'll have to watch it and figure it out in context.
That's come see Aladdin on Friday.
I think my favorite moment is there's a part where Sinbad comes in with all the sailors and they start singing, and the genie yells at them to like stop what they're doing, and then Sinbad's like, have you noticed my profile? My shoulders are most impressive. And the genie's like, no, man. It's probably my favorite moment because usually the kid who's playing Sinbad is just like,
My favorite moment actually talking about that moment going off of that is one week I had a kid who didn't know how to read the line. I was like, have you seen my profile picture? And I was like, no, this is Aladdin. We're not talking about Facebook right now.
That's awesome.
Can we keep moving?
I don't remember that story.
Yeah.
That's great.
Have you seen my profile picture? My shoulders must, I was like, no.
Not your profile.
Funny. So the littlest kids are going to be penguins this year? penguins in Aladdin in the desert? How's
Very,
that, how's that all work?
Lost.
They're very lost, and they were on their way to a wedding, so they have really cute little top hats and bow ties on their costumes. They're just incredibly lost. And in my opinion, having that age group, those little ones, be lost to anything is kind of the ideal for them. Because they're half the time they're lost anyway.
Some of them are really bright. But
yeah, this week they're
Some
really
of them are
smart kids. Like, I'm like, so what do you think you would say if Sinbad says this? They say, lost, lost, lost. I'm like, you got it. Smart kids.
Let's talk a little bit about you guys. Where did you get your training? Where did you go to school? And tell us how you got into Missoula.
I went to a small liberal arts college in the middle of Iowa. I went to Cornell College, and I went there. I loved it. I trained. My senior year of college, I was looking for work. I went to a big audition conference in Minnesota, and Missoula called me back. I was sitting in there listening to them talk about the job, and my friend who was also in there turns to me. He goes, "This is your job," and I was like, I know. And I was just so moved by what this company does and what it stands for. And I interviewed, and they liked me enough to hire me. And I've been on pretty much since then. I've got another year coming up, and don't see any end in sight at this point.
And you, Laine?
So I got my degree. I got a BFA in theater from the University of Rhode Island. I actually just graduated last May, and a week after I graduated, I packed up all my things and went to Missoula, Montana, and started this job. So that was great. I also trained in London for a hot second. I was over there for a month at Lambda studying Shakespeare. So that's my training, that's my background. And like I said, what I was telling you before we got started, it took me about 6 months to really get used to the lifestyle of living on the road and picking up at the end of the week and just, going from there.
Obviously, being in theater is one thing and it's a different kind of a lifestyle. But then when you combine dealing with kids many of whom have never done theater or have very limited experience, what's that like? It must be like being thrown into a hurricane.
It depends on the week. Sometimes it really does depend on the week, because sometimes the kids take really well to it and really want to learn about it. Sometimes you don't get as lucky. But in my experience, that's why I do this job, is because so many of these kids don't have even an art class during their school year, and we are the exposure to the arts for them. And I think that's so special that we get to come in and we get to say, okay, it's not just for people who've gone to college for it. It's not just for people who can afford it.
Art is not for the 1%. It's for everybody.
It's for everyone, from those little kindergartners who just, you just have them stand in a straight line, and if that's what they can manage, that's great.
Yeah.
And if they can, act and really enjoy it.
It's so interesting. I feel like when I was at the college level, people were like, oh yeah, working in children's theater is a cop-out. Why would you ever want to do that? You're not actually doing what you want to do. But children's theater is the future. If you don't expose children to something, and especially to what people consider to be a dying art form, it's not going to go anywhere. And at some point, you're kind of paying a paycheck. You're putting food on somebody else's plate who's doing this as a living, as an actor working on stage. And it's great that we're able to do that. But with that being said, each week it can be the most magical experience. You're I'm so happy to be this person that's bringing you this art. Or the kids can be menacing. And you're why did it have to be me? So, it depends.
So you guys have been on the road for a long time with Aladdin, for sure. What's a moment that stands out for each of you?
I think a moment that stands out for me, again, talking about how success is at every level, we had this family of kids. I think there were 4 of them in our cast in a town called Tula, which is on Malcolm Island off the coast of Vancouver Island. And this family had been through some sort of tragic event. We didn't really know that much about it, but the principal at the school warned us, these kids don't want to talk. They won't talk. And one of them in particular, barely said a word to us all week. And we I taught her lines, and she knew them. I could tell she knew them, but she wouldn't say them. And finally she got up on stage, and she had to hold someone's hand while she was on stage, but she said her lines. And that was just such a special moment for me, because she did it. She whispered them. The audience probably couldn't hear her say them, but that was such a big step forward for her that, I just felt really special that we could help her to get up in front of people and not just shut down. I thought that was really great progress for her and really special.
I think mine was moving story from being on the road is I was at my second residency ever, and of course, after your first week, you're like, I don't know how that happened. Your like brain is like screaming. And I remember I was with my previous tour partner, and we were on Red Riding Hood, and we were, announcing all the roles that everybody was gonna get, and we finally got to Red Riding Hood, and we announced the girl's name, and all of a sudden we just saw this woman in the back of the theater just start crying, and we're like, wow, that's clearly a story. And over the course of the week, we finally found out, and we talked to the woman who happened to be the girl's mother, and what she said was she had been diagnosed with cancer when this girl was probably like 10, 9, and the girl had taken care of her until she had recovered, and she was just so happy that this girl was going to be able to have an experience as a child, instead of just being a primary caregiver for her mother. And it's just, if this job can give you anything, it's perspective. You learn how lucky you are to have what you are, and you feel so blessed to be able to give so much to so many people.
Yeah, it's a special moment, and I think probably for you guys, although it's a bit of a, you come into a town on a Monday and you're in and out in a hurry, but you get a chance to see the kids develop and change over time. And what's your experience has been with the kids in Valemount?
The kids in Valemount are really great. We apparently, what I was hearing from one of the teachers is that the child we cast as Aladdin this week, prior to auditions, he had been like, I'm not going to do that. No, that's not for me. Like, he was too cool. And he was like, oh, man, I'm not even coming to school tomorrow because we have auditions. And like, meh, meh. And, we get that sometimes. Young boys are like, I'm too cool for that. And they're not, but whatever. We're cool enough. And we cast him as Aladdin because he had such a great audition. He was just like, he was really on top of it. He seemed really energetic. And even on Tuesday, yesterday, during rehearsal, he still kind of had that, like, I'm too cool for this kind of attitude. But even in the past 2 days, he's opened up so much and, like, really started enjoying what he's doing. And I think that's really interesting. And I feel like some of the other kids have kind of been finding their own in their roles as well. But that one's really funny to me because he was like, I'm too cool. And now he's just playing with it and having a lot of fun. And he's almost memorized, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I was really impressed with another one of our castmates who a teacher was like, oh, this child told me before you guys came that she never gets a big role and she never gets the opportunity to act. She never gets chosen. And this week, the part that you gave her, she's just over the moon. They're like, but I don't know how well she's going to be able to do with memorizing. Like, that's not really her strong suit. And she's done fantastic so far.
Yeah, she's been really great.
I'm really proud of her, and to be able to like make a child feel that good about themselves, like that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have a great job. So we'll wrap it up. Friday, we have 2 shows. You know the times?
Shows.
Yes.
4:30 and 7 o'clock on Friday, right here at the secondary school. Come see Aladdin.
Great. Well, have fun in the rest of the week in Valemount and do some cool stuff. I know you've already been out and you tell me canoeing on the marsh and staying out with Claude and Elka at the place, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So thanks for coming, and look forward to seeing you Friday.
Great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.